All right, I'm back. I know it's been a while, and as you can see, I haven't gotten a whole lot done, but I have been working on things slowly, and I've been changing my mind a little bit. I have gotten most of the eastbound classification yard done. I just have that last little end, that last little piece there, and the switch. I'm considering changing part of the yard. What I kind of want to do, because I like it, but the gaps I left a lot of unused space. If I eliminate some of these 2.5 inch gaps, because the yard tracks are about 1 7/8 inches apart, which I guess is fairly. I've read other people do that, but I have maps of the yards in Altoona in like 1905 and the 1940s, and even the main line. I mean, the main line was pretty close together. I don't need these big gaps here. If I push the tracks together, including this front one, and relay some of this, because, oh, by the way, I don't like having this big gap. I could have had these switches further down. So I'm probably going to pull those down more, but I'm going to work on it slowly. I'm going to do one section at a time so I can still run the layout, but I can fit two more tracks in here because I've done the math. I can fit about two more tracks in here, which is a big deal because, I mean, it's supposed to look like the massive yards that existed. Don't know what I'm doing. Oh, and another reason is because I might end up adding a third arrival departure track to each yard, and I might use that as west staging and east staging. I haven't quite figured it out yet. The reason why I don't like staging right now, staging, it used to be on the upper level, it used to be on the back wall, but you would have to pull a train in and back it out, and with steamers, that can create a problem trying to back them up. And then lower staging used to be underneath upper staging. Lower staging, right now, the only place that makes sense is off the end there, but then you would have to go behind the workbench, and you'd have to duck under to work the paper mill. So that's kind of a problem in and of itself. And well, yeah, it's a project in and of itself. That would take a lot of work because that's also a tight radius behind the cabinet I measured. East Altoona Roundhouse is going to stay there. I looked at moving it over here, even adding a little bit of bench work to fit it, and it just doesn't really work because there's the 1x4s. I would have to cut out some of them because it's, I kept expanding, so there's a bunch of 1x4s under there, and the turntable itself, I would have to cut where I would have to cut for the little bottom piece of the turntables, right where there's a stud, or not a stud, but right where there's a 1x4. So I can't really put it down there, and I don't like it anyways over there because this is prototypical. That's the East Altoona Roundhouse on the south side of the main line. And then that would be the Juniata shops once I figure them out. The other thing that pulling the switches at this end of the westbound yard down and pulling these down a foot and a half does is they would end more like here. So now I have even more space for yard tracks for the works buildings, which would be cool. So I have a lot of things kind of planned so far. But I have the same idea a bunch of different ways. I mean, adding a fifth yard track to westbound to eastbound, or adding a third arrival departure. So I have a few different ideas for the yard, and I'm happy with the yard's layout. I like the way I have it laid out. I just want to kind of take advantage of the space that I'm wasting, because I want to be. Oh, and the other thing is, if I can find a way to not use that wall for staging, the other reason I want to add a fifth track is because, well, there's more cars to sort, but also for another local, because right now the only local that's westbound, I should say westbound, because westbound is actually that direction, is Hollidaysburg. And Hollidaysburg, you got to go eastbound. But in order for that to be prototypical, the turnoff to go to Hollidaysburg would have to be like there. And that's, you can't go anywhere because you got the main line in the back. But with the upper level free of staging, you got the coal mine behind the furnace. But in front of that, I could have Johnstown. And I could have steel mills. I know that South Fork is closer to Altoona than Johnstown is, but they're two separate switches. So, with selective compression, I kind of have to do it that way. I can't put a coal mine there; it would stick out too much. But I could do a little 2-track siding for like Johnstown or something. That gives me another local. That gives me more work for people to do. Take the train up to Johnstown, come back down, sort the cars. And then eastbound, you got the Tyrone paper mill local, but that is split in two. I mean, you have to run the local twice to run all the cars. So I could just as easily use another track for the other half of the Tyrone paper mill, so that there's two tracks for the Tyrone paper mill, or I could use a track for sorting coal, because my other idea, if I don't do it back there, I still think I might on the upper level on that back there. Once I finish the upper, you can see there's no upper level right now. But where it comes across here, or where it would, I was thinking I would have a small little yard where I could sort coal based on grade and based on its destination, whether it's for public consumption or if it's for power plants, stuff like that, or steel mills, or wherever it's going, because I love coal. And the coal mine, the coal mine is going to be able to hold like 30, 40 coal cars or something. So I actually, it'd probably help if I walked over there. As it's dark, can't really see, can't see anything, I guess. Anyways, the coal mine's back there, and that's not done yet. But the coal mine, it's about 8 feet long. Man, this room is really dark. But I was thinking about sorting coal on that upper level, and then you bring it down into arrival departure track eastbound, and that would be a pretty big operation. You'd have someone working the coal mine the whole time. When it's all said and done, that gives me another idea. Move these switches down, which I'm 100%. I think I'm going to do that now. What that does is gives me another. It gives me a third person that can work the yard. So you have this end, which would probably be me. I love the yard, and this, I designed it this way on purpose. I can reach those back switches. I think people are probably going to want to switch this end because it might be a little. It's easier for me to reach. I don't know if everyone has long enough arms. But then with these switches down, I can also have someone working the east end of the westbound classification yard. And with them about here, you can still have someone over here working the east end of the eastbound classification yard. You can, and they can also run the diesels and the shops and all that. And then you got the steam engines back there. So you can have 3 people working the yard, double track main line, so you can have 2 people running long haul stuff. There's going to be a helper district. That's a 6th person. There's always going to be someone doing the paper mill or Hollidaysburg. That's 7. The coal mine. Running that, you'll be running that a lot. That's 8. And then the passenger train, because it's double track mainline, but you can have more than 2 trains. That's 9. Now, I'm not going to have 9 operators, but I like having the option to have that. I think I had 7 when I did this before. So it gives people a chance to do something different. You don't have to do the same thing all day long. And by the way, I don't even have Crescent done. I don't really know what I'm going to do with Crescent, because you can't really reach all the cars. It's upper level, and it's sitting on paint cans. We got to prop it up better or put it in permanently. It's still not in permanently. But there's might be something up there that people can do. I like having a lot of different options. And the way the layout is spread out, you can kind of have you can. I mean, I've had 7 people in here before, so you could have 9. You have someone watching horseshoe curve, someone working the paper mill, passenger train. You know, you want to see this station. You got another station that's going to be here. Oh, and that's the other thing. I'm going to have probably a 6-inch section that it can attach and come off the front, where it's the north of the. This is a runaround track, and it's also a track for the passenger train. But what it does is, here would be the station and everything, so I can always take it down if I need to reach stuff. But it just adds another element to the layout. It'll help it look even more realistic and prototypical. But that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I just working on stuff slowly, and I changed a lot of plans, but I think these plans are for the better, because usually when I change the yard, I completely change it. This time I'm not changing it. I'm just like adding to it. I'm moving. In fact, I still may not even do much more than move these tracks together and add one more arrival departure track. I mean, I am going to slide these down, but for the most part, I can leave those 4 tracks there. If I leave this where it is, I still got to fix it. You can see the kinks from 2 years ago. But it's basically where I'm at. And that cardboard back there, I've had that on a couple little boxes just to see what it would look like having a bridge over the yard. So there'll probably be a bridge. You see the abutment. Bridge over the yard at this end. I might do one down the very middle. I don't really want to do one at the east end, even though, I don't have any room. I mean, I don't want it to go right over where the diesels would be, and I don't think it would even fit past the roundhouse. But, and then I have the works area. You know, I got that'll be Altoona Pipe and Steel. You got the shop building. There's all sorts of operations at this end too. You know, you gotta pick up gondolas, drop off gondolas. I got the power plant. You gotta deliver coal too. So there's a lot of chances for operations on this layout, and that's what I'm happy about. And now I'm happy with the yard now that I have figured out what I want to change about it and what I want to keep. And this is kind of turning into a long-winded video, so I'll end it here in a minute. But I don't know how fast I'll work on stuff. I mean, the main line runs, so maybe I'll just get video of some trains running at some point. I mean, I do have a couple M1B, Hippo. I got a few steamers I can run. Diesels run fine. But that's pretty much it. I guess next video will either be Hollidaysburg, because I have started work on Hollidaysburg. Can't see it because I don't have a light in that corner. But next video will be like Hollidaysburg. That'll either be done because that's a fairly easy build, or maybe the yard, or the trains running, something like that. But I'm starting to get back into the swing of things. The reason why I disappeared the last 3 months when I said I was going to have a video by January is just because I kept changing my mind. I was not happy with parts of the layout, and it was such an easy fix too. Once I figured out, what's bugging me isn't really the way the switches look at this end, or yada yada, or the fact that when you uncouple each cut of cars, you can't see the ones behind it, which is a little bit of a pain, but it's not a big deal. I mean, you're right here in the front, so it's not too bad. But it was really just this area that I wasn't too happy with, because I left so much space for yard tracks. And it is a yard. They crammed tracks everywhere, and I want it to look like that. Other places like Hollidaysburg, I left more space between tracks so that I can actually do some scenery and not just have it look like a spaghetti bowl of tracks. But until next time, I'll see you guys later.